Welcome back to the Soccer Science Lab. Forget everything your favorite football experts or advanced AI supercomputers predicted, because the 2026 World Cup group stage just finished, and it officially destroyed the traditional football hierarchy. While global giants packed their bags early, absolute underdogs with unknown players completely hijacked the spotlight. You might think these historic upsets are just random luck, but scientifically, it is a brilliant demonstration of climate adaptation, tactical evolution, and massive psychological burnout. Grab your notebook, because today we are breaking down the chaotic physics, the strategic masterclasses, and the funniest data-driven shocks of the craziest World Cup group stage in history. To understand how unheralded squads like Paraguay and Morocco completely paralyzed European football royalty in the round of 32, we must look at a hidden biological weapon. It is a physiological phenomenon known as climate acclimatization. When FIFA expanded the 2026 tournament, matches were scattered across extreme environmental zones. While European superstars spent their final weeks playing high-intensity league matches in mild climate zones, these clever underdogs took a massive logistical gamble. They arrived in North America nearly a month early, turning their early training camps into advanced environmental simulation laboratories. Let's look at the exact human biology of how a human body adapts to extreme heat and humidity. When an athlete suddenly transitions from a cool environment to a boiling 38-degree stadium in Monterey or a humid night in Miami, the body suffers immediate kinetic failure. Scientifically, your heart has to pump twice as fast just to push blood to the skin's surface for cooling, which dramatically robs your skeletal muscles of vital oxygen. Glycogen reserves dry up instantly, and your maximum aerobic capacity drops by nearly 15% within 20 minutes. But because these underdog nations spent 4 continuous weeks training in these exact punishing conditions, their biology secretly upgraded. Mathematically, their blood plasma volume expanded by 12%. Their sweat rate increased to cool them faster, and their kidneys began conserving critical electrolytes. They literally built an internal air conditioning system inside their blood vessels. Let's translate this into an everyday life scenario to see how this biology works. Imagine you live in a perfectly air-conditioned apartment in Northern Europe, and you suddenly fly to a tropical jungle for a high-speed vacation. The moment you step outside the airport, the thick, heavy air hits your lungs like a hot, wet blanket. You walk a few blocks and you are already completely drenched in sweat, dizzy, and begging for a cold drink. Meanwhile, the local residents are casually jogging past you, smiling and not even sweating a single drop. That is exactly what happened on the pitch. While the German and Dutch players were drowning in their own sweat, gasping for oxygen, and suffering severe hamstring cramps by the 70th minute, the adapted Moroccan and Paraguayan players were still sprinting at full speed. They did not win because they had better tactical charts. They won because their red blood cells were biologically engineered to conquer the American summer. While biological adaptation saved their muscles, it was a brilliant mathematical trap that completely broke the tactical brains of Germany and the Netherlands. For decades, the dominant philosophy in elite soccer has been simple. If you control the ball, you control the destiny of the match. European powerhouses have perfected this into a high-intensity, possession-heavy style, passing their opponents into absolute exhaustion. But at World Cup 2026, the clever tacticians of Paraguay and Morocco turned this fundamental soccer law completely inside out, transforming 80% ball possession into a mathematical death sentence. Let's analyze the geometric data of this tactical trap, officially known as the low block counter matrix. In their historic knockout matches, Germany and Holland held a massive 75% of ball possession, completing over 800 passes each. Normally, this means total domination, but in reality, they were playing exactly how the underdogs engineered the game. Paraguay and Morocco voluntarily abandoned the midfield, retreating into a highly compressed, ultra-dense defensive grid right outside their own penalty box. Scientifically, they maintained 3 rigid defensive lines spread across just 15 meters of vertical space. Every single passing lane through the center was mathematically blocked by an aggressive wall of stickman bodies. Let's translate this into a funny real-life scenario to see the absolute frustration. Imagine you are playing a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek inside a tiny, completely empty room with 10 large security guards. You can run around as much as you want, and you can hold a toy ball for an hour, but no matter where you turn, there is a giant human wall blocking your path. You pass left, you pass right, you spin in circles, but you are completely suffocated by flesh and bone. You hold all the possession, but you have zero space to move forward. This is where the trap snaps shut with lethal kinetic force. When a possession-heavy team passes the ball sideways for 90 minutes under extreme heat, their mental focus slowly degrades. The moment a tired midfielder makes a sloppy, predictable horizontal pass, the underdog trap springs forward. By using explosive, low-touch vertical transitions, Morocco and Paraguay required just 3 passes and less than 6 seconds to travel 80 meters across the bright green pitch. They allowed the Giants to pass themselves into physical and mental exhaustion, forcing them into highly vulnerable positions, and then struck them like a lightning bolt when they least expected it. When 120 minutes of physical and tactical warfare could not separate the Giants from the underdogs, the fate of Germany and the Netherlands collapsed into the most terrifying lottery in sports, the penalty shootout. For decades, traditionalists believed penalties were purely about luck. But sports psychology and neurological science prove that the 11-meter line is in brutal laboratory testing human heart rate control under extreme pressure. In those final frozen moments, the massive global expectations of football royalty became a crippling chemical poison inside the European superstars' bodies. Let's look at the exact cardiac biometrics of a penalty kicker. Under normal match conditions, an elite soccer player's heart rate hovers around 160 beats per minute. But as you walk slowly from the center circle to the penalty spot, with millions of eyes staring at you through television cameras, your sympathetic nervous system triggers an intense fight-or-flight response. Adrenaline floods your bloodstream, causing your heart rate to spike instantly to nearly 200 beats per minute. Scientifically, this sudden cardiac surge creates tunnel vision, robs your brain of fine motor skills, and causes your leg muscles to micro-vibrate. For the highly stressed German and Dutch superstars, this chemical overload turned their multi-million-dollar feet into stiff, uncoordinated blocks of wood, causing them to miss critical targets. Let's translate this into a funny everyday scenario to see how this pressure breaks a human. Imagine you are sitting in a quiet room and you need to thread a tiny piece of string through the eye of a needle. Usually it takes you 5 seconds. But now, imagine a giant, angry grizzly bear is standing right behind you, roaring directly into your ears, while a stadium crowd screams at your face. Your hands shake uncontrollably, your heart thumps like a drum inside your chest, and you miss the needle completely. That is exactly what a penalty feels like under World Cup pressure. But why did the underdogs remain so cold-blooded? While Germany missed consecutive penalties against Paraguay and Holland collapsed under Morocco's wall of sound, the underdog players stepped up with absolute mathematical calmness. Because players like Julio Enciso or Ismail Saibari entered the tournament with zero survival expectations from the global media, their brains did not process the penalty as a catastrophic failure. They controlled their breathing, lowered their heart rates by nearly 20 beats per minute before striking, and calmly blasted their shots into the top corners. They didn't win the shootout because they had more power. They won because they mastered their own neurology while the Giants panicked. The historical collapse of Germany and the Netherlands in the round of 32 has sent a thunderous message across the entire globe. The traditional hierarchy of soccer is officially dead. The 2026 World Cup has proven that a legendary badge on your shirt, a $100 million price tag, or historical statistics cannot buy victory anymore. In this modern era, soccer is no longer won just by the most famous names, but by the smartest biological planners. The beautiful game has evolved into a high-stakes scientific race where climate adaptation beats historical prestige, and neurological heart rate control completely destroys raw panic on the penalty line. This tournament belongs to the rebels, the underdogs, and the tactical masterminds who knew exactly how to turn physical exhaustion into a lethal weapon. As we head into the quarterfinals, the world is watching a brand new football order unfold right before our eyes. Did your favorite team survive the chaotic madness of this historic round of 32? Do you think an absolute underdog like Paraguay or Morocco can go all the way to lift the golden trophy? Or will the remaining giants finally adapt and reclaim their crowns? Let us know your predictions in the comments below. If you love this deep dive into soccer science, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the lab so you never miss our next high-contrast strategic breakdown. Until next time, keep your heart rate steady, respect the physics of the game, and enjoy the beautiful chaos of the World Cup.